I would say my life as a 17-year-old was pretty traditional. I had aspirations of playing footy for the Fremantle Dockers. So I just remember it being a good day hanging out with my mates. And then all of a sudden, in a split second, everything changed. So you know what won't happen to me until all of a sudden I'm in this situation where I'm sitting next to my dead best friend, where I'm laying in hospital looking at my body where my feet aren't attached to me anymore. I'm sharing a story in a way that makes them listen, makes them hear, makes them think about the decisions and the choices that they make. I love that I can advocate and tell the story of how sport can be for the people with disabilities.
If you could speak to your 17-year-old self now, what would you say to him? Young drivers are among Western Australia's most vulnerable drivers and are consistently overrepresented in crash statistics. And behind every statistic is a life changed forever. At just 17, Rob Pike was in Year 12 when a tragic car crash claimed the lives of 3 of his closest friends and left him with life-changing injuries, losing both of his legs below the knees. What could have ended his story became its turning point. Today, Rob has transformed unimaginable loss into purpose. He's an adaptive athlete, a disability, road safety and mental health advocate, and a director at the Paraplegic Benefit Fund. He's also a gold medalist for wheelchair basketball and is head coach of the Australian Wombats wheelchair basketball team. That purpose now sees Rob standing in front of thousands of school students at RAC's annual B Street Smart Youth Road Safety event, sharing his story so young drivers understand that one decision can change everything. So thanks so much for joining us today, Rob. Before we talk about the crash and everything that followed, take us back to Year 12 and you as a 17-year-old. What did life look like for you?
I would say my life as a 17-year-old was pretty traditional. I had aspirations of playing footy for the Fremantle Dockers. You know, that was my football sport on a Saturday. And then I worked a part-time job at Woolworths and I was doing my best to kind of get into uni. That was kind of my plan. And so it's funny how things can change really fast. That's what I'd say, is that you think that you've got your whole life planned and then all of a sudden something comes along and derails what you think your life is going to look like.
So other than football, did you have any other career that you were thinking of?
So I wanted to get into the Defence Force and I wanted to become an air traffic controller. And so that was the plan. I was working pretty hard in high school to kind of complete my Year 12. I think we were just about to do our TEE at the time, and so that's where even all my friendship groups, that's what we were kind of preparing for. And so life was playing sport on a Saturday, whether that being cricket or football, and working my part-time job at Woolworths, and then obviously school, and then on a Sunday was at church.
So you had this great group of friends. And take us back to that day, what happened?
Yeah, great group of friends. We were all really close, especially me and my best friend, Daniel McCoy. I remember that day very clearly. I almost wish I could forget that day, to be honest with you. I remember going to school, drove myself to school. I'd got my licence back in April that year. We were in August 17th was the date of the accident. And so I drove myself to school. Got to school, everything was fine, and then all of a sudden at lunchtime we had a couple of my friends turned up at school who were ex-graduates, and we had a plan for that afternoon. We were to go play 9 holes of golf because I was in Year 12. We finished at lunchtime that day. And
your friends were older?
1 year older.
Yep,
so we had two friends that were with us that were 1 year older. They graduated the previous year. And then myself and my best friend Daniel McCoy was with us, and we were both in Year 12. And so we jumped in the car, we left the gates of the school, and then we started heading to the golf course. As we're getting close to the golf course, it starts pouring out with rain, to the point where it was that bad that we're like, hey, this isn't going to be fun. Like, let's go do something else instead. And so we drove into Rockingham. We went to 10-pin bowling there on Rockingham foreshore. And it was a fun afternoon. It was a really fun afternoon. We played 2 games of 10-pin bowling. I won both games. I'll always remember that. Remember celebrating and rubbing it in that I won. And then I remember as we finished the second game of 10-pin bowling, I remember kind of starting to make some decisions, some choices that probably didn't even realise at the time, but would have a drastic effect on how our day would end. And I think if I was to share my story, and obviously when I do share my story, I talk about pivotal moments in your life and how your decisions make have a drastic impact on your life. And sometimes we talk about the big major decisions that you make in your life, like obviously who you marry, your house that you buy, the car that you buy. Sometimes we don't think about the little decisions that we make. And I guess that's what I really want people to think about when they hear my stories, that what are the little decisions that you make? And so that was us. The Christian, who was the driver of the car, I actually remember him looking at his watch and he's going, "Gosh, we have to go. I'm going to be running late for work." So our time management wasn't great at that time. And so he was a full-time uni student, worked at McDonald's part-time. And so we raced out of that building. We jumped into his car and we sped off. And it wasn't anything unusual. So
what kind of car was it? Was
it
it a
yeah, it was a Nissan 200 SX. So it was a sports car. It was a birthday present from his father for his 18th birthday.
Right.
And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't anything unusual to what we would normally do. So we would kind of get in the car, probably a little bit reckless, the way, I guess, as most 17, 18-year-old boys are. We were a little bit reckless, and that was our decision making. And so I remember us kind of in a rush to get to be dropped off home. So Christian had to drop me and Daniel off home, and then he was racing to get back into Rockingham to go to work. And so we were speeding. It didn't feel excessive. We were overtaking cars. I didn't feel scared. It wasn't anything, like I said, it wasn't anything unusual for me or for us.
And he'd been driving for a year by now.
Yeah. So in my mind, he was a pretty experienced driver, but at that time, that's what I thought. So in hindsight now, obviously you're not very experienced when you're 18 years old.
Yeah, with different,
Yeah, and so
different road conditions and different weather patterns.
Exactly. So we were speeding. We're probably doing about between 10 to 20 Ks over the speed limit at certain times. And so what we weren't ready for is it was pouring down with rain. It was thunder, lightning. It was really bad.
Could you see through the windscreen?
Yeah, I'd say so. Look, I don't ever remember thinking I'm in danger here. And so I remember going to a roundabout probably about 10 minutes away from my house in Ibis. And pouring down with rain, there's thunder and lightning, and I was fine. I wasn't scared. Like there was nothing within me that thinking, "Oh, this is really dangerous." A little bit further down the road, it's probably about 4:16 in the afternoon. I'm having a laugh and a joke with Adam, Christian, and Daniel in the car. Like I was a bit of a jokester. We're listening to the radio, singing along. That was kind of what we did. That was my role in our friendship group. And everything was fine. So I just remember it being a good day hanging out with my mates. And then all of a sudden, in a split second, everything changed. So 4:17, I'm having a laugh and a joke with my friends. And then all of a sudden, at 4:17, like everything changed. So 4:16, everything's fine. And then 4:17, everything changed where the car we were in hit a big puddle of water. The car aquaplaned, spun out of control and hit a tree. Everything changed in that moment. Like I remember everything. I remember the fear. I remember hitting the puddle of water. I remember clenching my fists, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be really bad." And it was. Christian lost control of the car, went into a spin. It almost felt like slow motion. The car hit the tree, split in half. The front half of the car where Christian and Adam were sitting went tumbling down the road. Christian and Adam actually both got ejected out of the car. So two friends died straight away in that moment. So,
but you wouldn't have known that at the time.
No idea at the time. No idea what had happened. So what I was going through at the time is that the car was rolling into the bushes, and like I said, it was almost felt like slow motion where everything had stopped. And I remember thinking to myself, it feels like the car's not going to stop. And then all of a sudden it did, where the right hand on the side of the car where I was sitting behind the driver, was actually on its side. I remember opening my eyes and looking down at my hands, and they were all covered in blood. Like, there was glass everywhere. My hands were all cut up. At this stage, I'm just trying to piece together what's just happened. Like, it's pouring down with rain still. I've got water kind of coming down my face. I wipe the water off my face, and I look at my arm, and I realise that it's not water, that's blood. I've got a massive gash across my head. I've got blood pouring down my face. Just starting to realise what's just happened. Like, my mind is racing. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we've crashed. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm hurt, there's a bit of blood, but I'm okay. Next thing I do is I look up to my left to see whether my best friend Daniel was okay. And I look up to my left, and there he is. I'm sitting next to my dead best friend. And I'll never be able to forget that image of seeing him sitting next to me dead. And I'm in shock. I'm screaming. I'm crying. I'm yelling. I'm thinking to myself, I can just get some help. So that's what I'm thinking. If I can just get help. So I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, thinking I need someone to come and save his life. And I grew up watching Home and Away, and I grew up watching Neighbours, and so you think to yourself, if I can just get help, someone might be able to get him out and bring him back to life. I still remember the lady who came to the car. As I'm there screaming and yelling, and it's pouring down with rain, what I didn't realise at the time, and still probably about 2 years after, is that she was at her house. She was making dinner for her family. She heard this car hit this tree, and she ran out her back door and ran towards my screams. And I remember the moment that she got to me, where I'm kind of looking up through the back window, looking at her, and she's looking down at me, and I'm just screaming at her, please help Daniel, please help Daniel. I just need you to do something. Just help him, save his life, please, please. Where I'm sitting, I can see everything. Where she's standing, she can't see what I'm looking at. So it wasn't until she actually got down on her hands and knees and she saw Daniel, so she was like, oh my gosh, like, he needs help, or he needs to get him out of the car. And actually straight away she realised there was nothing we could do. So he was too far gone. He was way too broken. And so the next thing that she was thinking, as she's trying to calm me down, trying to say, hey, look, like, I can't help him, but I can help you. She's trying to pull me out of the car. I'm trying to pull myself out of the little back window, and I can't get out of the car. So I'm trapped in this car. It is snug. It is like a cocoon. I've got this little side window kind of sitting here that I'm trying to pull myself out of. And at the time, I'm like, I can't even remember thinking anything. I just remember thinking, this can't be happening. This can't be happening to me. It just wasn't something that I thought a 17-year-old would have to go through.
Like you were just caught in a nightmare.
100%. It's almost like I'm watching and experiencing someone else's life. That's what it felt like. It was like, this cannot be true. Takes the fire brigade and the ambulance probably about 20 minutes to arrive at the crash scene, probably 20 to 30 minutes to arrive at the crash scene.
That's a long time for, you to be sitting there worrying and not knowing what's going on.
Yeah. It's probably the scariest, probably 20 to 30 minutes of my life, where I'm laying in the car with this stranger sitting next to me, and I'm begging her, like, with tears, like, please don't let me die. Please don't let me die. I don't want to die. And I just, it's crazy when I think about it now, that a 17-year-old having to go through that and to say those words, it breaks my heart that anyone would have to go through that. Like, I guess that's why I want to share my story so much, is because I don't want anyone else to kind of go through what I've been through. So the fire brigade and the ambulance end up arriving at the crash scene.
And you didn't know at this stage the extent of your own injuries? No idea how bad my injuries were. At that stage, I knew that I was bleeding. I knew that I was hurt, but I had no idea how bad it was. And so the fireys get in, the ambulance officers get in, they put me into a drug-induced coma.
They end up getting the jaws of life out. They pull the car apart, and they release my body from the car. They take me to hospital. So they take me to Rockingham Hospital first to kind of get me stable. Yeah, to try and get me stable. And they do a good job. And it's funny. It's funny what you remember. I'd always had this question in my mind where I remember them putting me in it's a pressure suit, and I didn't realize whether this was a memory or whether it was just something that I kind of made up in my mind. That they put me in this pressure suit that they blow up, and it's actually to keep you from bleeding out. Mm-hmm. And so I remember being in this suit going through into hospital and them stabilising me and then knocking me out. And I probably wasn't with it. Or conscious probably for another 10 days to 2 weeks. They ended up taking me to Fremantle Hospital where I was put on life support. And it was when I woke up 10 days to 2 weeks later was when I actually started to realise what had just happened. I remember waking up with these cords and these machines attached to me.
That would have been frightening for you.
Yeah.
Just trying to piece it all together after
100%.
being in a coma.
So no memory of what had just happened at that stage. I'm waking up, I can't speak, I've got tubes going down my throat, another one going down my nose, and I'm like, what is going on? What's happened? That's what my brain's telling me. My dad's sitting right next to me, so I remember him kind of standing up. He races over to me, he puts his hand in my hand and he holds my hand. I remember looking me in the eyes and going, Bob, it's okay, I'm here. It's okay, I'm here. And I remember thinking to myself and hearing those words. So those words coming from Dad made me think that everything was going to be okay. And so it gave me a little bit of peace. Okay, it's going to be all right. He goes to me, you've been involved in a car crash. You're hurt, but you're going to be okay. And I remember there was a bit of a pause there between that communication and then what happened next, where me hearing that from Dad thinking, okay, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. Dad said it's going to be all right. He gave me the confidence that, I can get through this. And then there's this pause. And then he goes on to say, but I need to tell you something. Christian, Adam, and Daniel have died. I wasn't ready to hear those words. I just remember just being in shock. I remember thinking to myself, this can't be true. This can't be true. Things like this don't happen to people like us. This can't be true. I remember thinking to myself that this is just a nightmare. This is just a bad dream. I remember thinking to myself, this is just a bad dream. This is just a nightmare. This can't be true because things like this don't happen to people like us. And so I remember pinching myself. I remember trying to find skin. So I'm in bandages. I've got everything's all wrapped up. Trying to pinch my arm. Trying to wake myself up out of this bad dream. Pinching my chest, wake myself up. I think to myself, this can't be true. Left bruises on myself, trying to wake myself up out of this bad dream. And it's probably over the course of the next few days, few weeks, is that when it starts to kick in, hold on, this is reality. This is actually happening. Probably wasn't until 2 weeks after I've came off life support, so probably about 4 weeks after the accident, after Dad telling me what had just happened, that I actually started to piece everything together, what had just happened to, so what my injuries looked like. I knew that I had about 300 stitches. I had cuts and lacerations to my hands, to my head, to my leg. I had a broken leg in my femur, so I had a pin put in my leg. I was in a back brace, so I knew that I'd broken my back. What I didn't know at that stage, or what I'd heard but I'd failed to understand, was that I'd actually lost both my legs. That as the car hit the tree and split in half, that my feet went with the front half of the car and my body went in the back half of the car. So as I'm laying there in that car having this conversation with this lady who's trying to keep me alive, when I'm looking at my best friend screaming for his life, I had no idea that my feet weren't attached to me at that stage, that they were probably about 20 metres away from me. And so it's funny because people always say to me, how did you not know? How did you not know? 2 weeks of laying there, how did you not know? I'm in a back brace, so I couldn't sit up. I've got all these other pains and all these other things that are going on.
And no one actually told you, or they...
My dad says he
yeah,
did,
okay.
but I think I was so
Shut that
busy
down
kind
in
of
your
hearing all this
mind.
other
Yeah.
information that I just failed to hear it. And also you get phantom pains and phantom limbs. So where I'm laying there in my bed, where my legs are in bandages, but I can still feel like I can wiggle my toes. So I'm laying there, I can still feel like I can move my feet a little bit. So not once am I thinking to myself that there's anything wrong here. I'm still getting cramps in my toes. So everything feels like it's functioning okay. And it wasn't until all of a sudden I get this itch in my foot. I'm like, I've got to scratch it. I'm in a back brace, so I can't sit up, bro. So I'm trying to struggle to find the right angle to try and find this itch to scratch. As I put my hand down under the blankets to try and find this itch, it's then I start to feel bandages. And I remember the shock. I remember the surprise of like, okay, hold on, something else is going on here. And it was very, okay, like what's going on? What's going on? What is it that no one's telling me? And I remember feeling around thinking, oh, okay, this is worse than what I thought. And then I remember ripping my hand out of the blanket, pulling the blankets off, and then kind of like sitting up. Probably wasn't supposed to, sitting up and then looking down. And I remember just being in shock. I remember looking down, thinking, what is this? Like I'm not ready to see this. This isn't. And it was in that moment that I realised that my life was never, ever going to look the way I wanted it to look. That even hearing Dad telling me that everything was going to be okay meant that I was going to be fully healed, meant that I was going to go back to normality, yes, without my friends, but I would be able to go back to playing football, to playing cricket, to these aspirations of going to the Defence Force. That was what I thought my life was going to be. All of a sudden, I'm looking down at these legs, and it's like, my life will never look like what I wanted it to look like. Probably the most confronting moment in my life, where I'd say that and seeing my best friend sitting next to me, those were the two moments where I'm like, I can never forget the feelings, and I can never forget the emotion that went along with it, and the confusion of, I can't believe this is happening to me.
How do you begin to even process that? Like two major things that your brain has to cope with.
I think for me, it was initially, I almost dealt with one at a time. So for me, it was dealing with the loss of my friends. So while I was in hospital, it was very much, I can't believe my friends aren't here. I can't believe I wasn't able to go to the funerals. And dealing with that loss. And obviously that continues. And even to this day, I still feel that loss. But then it comes a stage where the reality of, well, I want to be able to get out of this room. I want to be able to get out of bed. And so the reality of having to be, now I'm in a wheelchair. Now I've got to transfer to do everything. All of a sudden, life becomes a whole lot harder, a whole lot tougher. Mentally, I wasn't prepared for it. I needed to get professional help. And so it's funny, people would always say to me at the time, oh, you're so lucky to be alive. I didn't feel lucky. I felt so guilty for being the only one to come out of that car alive. Survivor's guilt is a massive thing, is a real thing. And if you had asked me at that time, did I feel lucky? No, I didn't. If I could have exchanged my life for one of my friends' lives, I would have done it. And I don't think you're mentally ever really to deal with something like that. I think you just handle it day to day until you become to a certain stage where you're ready to speak to somebody, and then that's the beginning of your healing journey.
Apart from your therapist, did you have anybody else that really helped you through this?
Yeah, I'd say my dad.
Difficult
My
time,
dad was amazing for me. He'd been through a car accident, lost his first wife when he was in his early 30s. And so he was able to talk to me about trauma and how just to be able to keep going through every day. Just, hey, you just don't give up. Don't give up today. I know it's hard, but you just keep going. And I feel like that kind of mentality is probably what got me through, where there was times there when I was looking for an exit, where it did feel like it was overwhelming and too hard. And those kind of words of, hey, just don't give up. Don't give up today. Just keep going day by day, sometimes hour by hour. Just get through, and then you will come out the other side.
And your dad also, him living that experience gives him some credibility to you that you can move on with your life and you can keep going.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think one thing as a 17-year-old, like you really feel like someone's got to earn their stripes to speak into your life, really, to say, hey, or you got to see that they've gone through something to come out the other side. Sometimes it was really hard to hear advice from other people because I'm like, what would you know? How can you tell me what to do? You don't know what my life's like. You don't know what I've seen. You don't know how I feel from going from what I had to what I have now. The loss. And so having Dad there in my corner, kind of knowing what he'd been through and to be able to give me that type of advice was incredible.
At what point did you decide that you actually wanted to use this personal tragedy for something bigger?
I think really early on, like I kept getting asked questions. People kept coming to me and asking the question, hey, do you want to come and share your story? And it's funny, I kind of made this decision. If people were to ask me, because at that stage you want your friend's life to mean something. It's got to be for something. And so I remember thinking to myself, if I can just share my story and stop people going through what we went through, then their lives won't be in vain. And so kept thinking, okay, if anyone ever asks me, and I remember thinking, I hope they don't ask me, but if they do, I will always say yes, and I'll always tell my story to the best of my ability. I don't think I'm a very good public speaker, but I think what I am is authentic, and I think I can tell my story because it's my story. And so I can just be true and authentic to what me and my friends went through, what we did, be completely honest. And then if people get something from that, then amazing. So for me, telling my story is a way of, and I didn't even realize at the time, but it was actually a part of my healing, being able to share it to a point where I felt comfortable and confident, to the point now where I'm like, for me, it's about the audience. It's not really about my healing anymore.
Before you became an advocate for road safety, you were an athlete.
Yes.
So after you were in hospital and you had your rehabilitation, you decided that you would hit the basketball court. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So wheelchair basketball has been amazing for me. So I would say it was 6 months after my accident, I started playing wheelchair basketball. Is that something you wanted to do or something that just happened? It's funny you say that because it was something that I got pushed into by my dad. So I was getting a set of legs made from a prosthetic place, and they were telling me about wheelchair basketball, and my dad was relaying a story that he'd heard. And I remember thinking to myself, a bunch of disabled people playing wheelchair basketball, it can't be that good. And I'll be honest, I'm very ignorant, had no idea about the sport. My dad pushed me, nagged me to come and have a look. The best decision he'd ever made and I'd ever made was actually go and having a look. What I saw was these athletes, these disabled people, but were passionate about sport, flying around this basketball court, hitting each other, smashing each other, and having the time of their life, having fun, having joy. And for me at that time, I didn't have any of that.
And you were probably missing your footy as well.
Yeah, 100%. I was missing footy, I was missing cricket, I was missing that camaraderie. I'm a very competitive person. I like to win. And so being able to go and play a sport where nobody was talking about their accident, their disability, what they'd been through, people were just coming there to play basketball. And so I love that.
You could go and rough someone up.
100%, yeah. I love that. And that's what I love about it. As soon as you cross that line, like it's on. Like I've been in many verbal battles, some physical altercations playing wheelchair basketball. And I like that. I think that's what sport's all about. And so I love that I had a arena, a platform where I could go, that I could disconnect from my trauma and go and play. And at the same time, I didn't realize it, but I was making friends. I was hearing other people's stories, and then it made me think, geez, if they can do it, then I can too. So I was lucky enough to have nearly a 20-year wheelchair basketball career. I played for Australia. Didn't quite make the Paralympics. I was in an era where there was some amazing wheelchair basketball athletes going around, so I was always kind of on the outside looking in. Made some Australian teams and won a gold medal, won a silver medal at some different tour events. So extremely proud of that. So one of my favourite moments is being on the dais, singing the national anthem, receiving my gold medal. I have it up at home. My kids kind of love it as well. But it's amazing to me, and I love the fact that sport is such a healer. That mentally, it was what I needed at the time. That I needed to kind of disconnect. I needed to put my strength and my ability into something else.
And you're a coach now.
Yeah, yep. I love it. I love what wheelchair basketball does. I love that. I love the skills that come along with it. I love that I can advocate and tell the story of how powerful sport can be for the people with disabilities. And I love that I'm lucky enough to be a cheerleader now of some of the most amazing athletes coming through and see their rise in the sport.
You spoke at the 2025 RAC Be Street Smart event at RAC Arena. What was that like, standing up in front of, 14,500 school students?
Oh, it's amazing. I've been doing it now for, I'd say, maybe 10 years, I'd say. And it keeps getting bigger every time. And so I remember the first time kind of walking out in front of the crowd and my heart racing through my chest and thinking, what am I doing? But it's incredible. It's incredible. Like, the adrenaline rush is very cool. But the ability to be able to speak to, for me, I think our most vulnerable on our roads is pretty important. I walk out wearing shorts so they can see my disability. It's very much in their face. And I don't take a backward step. I tell them my whole story. I want them to understand that I was in their position at one stage too, where I thought, you know what, it won't happen to me, until all of a sudden I'm in this situation where I'm sitting next to my dead best friend, where I'm laying in hospital looking at my body where my feet aren't attached to me anymore. And so being able to be pretty raw and pretty honest with these students is amazing. It's something I really treasure and I really enjoy. And my hope is just that they listen, that I'm sharing a story in a way that makes them listen, makes them hear, makes them think about the decisions and the choices that they make. That it becomes behaviour change for them. There's something that sits with them.
Is it well received? Do you find that the students actually, they get the message that you're trying to give them?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do get the message. I think it's I've never seen probably 14,500 students so quiet, where you can kind of hear a pin drop in that auditorium, and then I show a photo of the car and you can hear the gasp of them seeing what the reality was. As I walk out of the arena and the students are all around, I always get feedback of, hey, that was amazing. Thank you for being so honest. We really appreciate it. And I have had feedback before as well where I've kind of run into students outside of their, at Harbour Town or something like that, where they're like, oh, I saw your presentation. It was amazing. It really impacted me, where I don't make the same decisions I used to make. So my hope is that if it touched one, then maybe it resonates with the rest as well. So.
And obviously you're a father now yourself. How do you feel about your kids getting licences?
Yeah, my daughter's 15 at the moment, so she'll be getting her L's next year. It's scary. It's scary to me. I'm a very much now a control freak around the car. I like to be the one that's driving. And so the fact that she will have her life within her hands is confronting. But I also know that having your license is amazing. It's amazing feeling, freedom, independence. And so I would never want to take that away from her. I wanted to experience all those things. So that's what becoming an adult is all about. But there will always be a fear within me, I think, of I hope she's okay, and I hope I've taught her well. But I'm pretty confident that she will be the type of driver that is thinking and about her decisions.
Apart from the event at the RAC Arena, what other school things do you do?
Yeah, so I do Project Road Smart as well, which is with RAC, and so we go to regional WA And we pretty much put on a mini B Street Smart event where there's a crash reenactment video. There's local police, there's fire and emergency services people there. RAC sometimes at stage send in their helicopter. Happiness Co go there as well, and they have a presenter that shares about hope and happiness after something pretty tragic. But I'm the keynote at that event, and I guess the whole idea is that, car crashes in regional WA happen all the time. Nearly every day there's crashes. And so we need to be sharing, if this story isn't just for metro students, it's for regional students also, maybe even more so. And so, we go around, we speak in regional areas like Geraldton, Broome, Albany, Kalgoorlie, Esperance, Bunbury. So usually wherever there's a bit of a regional hub, we go there.
And I guess when students can actually see the carnage in front of them with these reenactments, that must strike a chord with them as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they see the video and look, it's done very well. The video reenactment is done very, very well. And it's almost like reality. So I remember the first one that I went to, the B Street Smart event, where I was sitting in the crowd and then the Jaws of Life came out and I heard that. I'm like, oh, gee, that's almost like a bit of a trigger point where I had to kind of compose myself because it was so realistic. And I'm like, it gave me kind of memories of being back in the car again. So look, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that it's so realistic, because the reality is that this type of stuff happened to young people on our roads, and I don't think we can shy away from it. I think we can't paint a happy picture, because reality, when this stuff happens, it's not a happy picture. There's a lot of sadness.
Is there one message that you would give to 16, 17-year-old drivers?
Yeah, for me, it's about the decisions and the choices that you make. So for me, I wish we're aware of the decisions and the choices that we were making at the time. So the choice to be in a rush, the time to time manage, the fact that none of us in the car even spoke up and said, hey, just slow down a little bit, that we had this false sense of security that everything was always going to be okay. I think the message of that everything isn't always okay, and that your safety is within your hands. And so your behaviours, the choices that you make behind the wheel of the car, even the little decisions and the little choices, that they all can have a massive impact on your life. So be really thoughtful about it. Be really thoughtful about the decisions that you make. If you go to a party, have a plan. Like, plan not to get into a car. Plan to have a backup. Like, I think if you have those discussions now, like, you can make some really smart, educated decisions. With your friendship group, talk to your friendship group about what's okay and what's not okay. Give them permission to stop you, to speak into your life. Hey, if you see me get into a car with someone who's been drinking, I give you permission, at any means necessary, to come and stop me. It's really good to have those decisions now, because all of a sudden it gives you confidence in the moment to speak up.
If you could speak to your 17-year-old self now, what would you say to him?
Oh, gosh, I would say to him, be more aware. Don't be so much of a risk taker. I think that attitude of, it won't happen to me, I was living that. I was living that in the moment. I had no real understanding of the consequences of our choices and our decisions. And unfortunately, that was the reality is that this is what I'm living now, the consequences of those decisions in that car, of the consequences of me not speaking up and saying, hey, slow down, of me saying, hey, look, maybe we don't go today because it's pouring down with rain. Those kind of decisions.
Do you think males are more likely to take risks than female drivers?
Yeah, I do. I would say that, and that's
at that age.
Yeah, at that age, and I say that's what the statistics tell us as well. Is that the males between 17 and 25 are at higher risk of being involved in a car crash, and it is because we take riskier behaviour. So I guess my message to these students is, hey, I was where you are now. I was 17 years old. I was thinking exactly the same thing as you, and I wish I could change it. I wish I had someone telling me my story, and then I probably would have made a different decision, a different choice.
So how about your children? They obviously know your history with wheelchair basketball. They must be very proud of you.
Yeah, look, they've grown up with dad with a disability. That's all they've kind of seen, and I remember early on, my daughter and even my son would go and grab my legs and go get them for me and bring them to me. Probably one of the proudest moments was though my daughter had come to school as your favourite athlete. I didn't know it at the time, but my daughter had got my wife to get her a singlet with our name on the back, and so we organised a wheelchair for her, and so she went to school as me, as an athlete, as a wheelchair basketball athlete, and so it was very cute. She had her piggy tail, she had a sweatband on, she was in her little wheelchair, and I actually think she won the prize for best dressed actually. So it was, but it was one of the proudest moments for my daughter who loves her sport and has always grown up loving sport. For her to kind of be like, hey, I want to go as dad. Proud dad moment, and really, really nice.
And what an amazing example as well.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love the fact that disability is more in our schools now than it would have ever been. And so it's not seen as something that's unique or odd or weird. It's just, it is what it is. It's just a student with a disability, and we accommodate.
Are you going to keep telling your story to students in WA?
Yeah, definitely. I think as long as I'm asked, and I think I'll always go back to when I was 19 years old and asked the first time, hey, can you come and share your story? I kind of feel the same way. If someone asks me to share my story, I'll always come and share it, because hopefully someone wants to hear it, and hopefully it creates us safer drivers on our roads.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, let us know and share it with a friend. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode of RAC's Horizons podcast.